Welcome to another live stream. Innuendos and gaslighting, targeting individuals. They deal with all kinds of weird things. And the directed conversations, the innuendos, the street theater, well, it plays a big role. And of course, the best part about it is it involves that old plausible deniability. If you say anything, it's wrapped up in something that other people just wouldn't see. There's a way out of it. There's a way they can kind of try to escape the accusation. And the worst part about it is that the exponential tyranny that the target is experiencing. Well, sometimes they can get to the point where they start believing that they are. Maybe they're just reading into things. Maybe they're just hallucinating. Maybe they're crazy. It can't really be that all these people are doing these things, right? That's just nuts. But it can happen. And I've talked about all the ways that this stuff can manifest. And, really, when you look at this whole phenomenon that target individuals deal with, the scariest part about it is you see what's going on. You're really the only one in reality. The other people are blind. They have no idea what's going on. They think you're crazy. But really, they have no idea. Either that or they're in on it. Right? I've talked about that before. A lot of targets will try to figure out, what's the percentage of people out there? I'm serious. There's a lot. And I've been doing this for a long time. Okay. And I've seen people who were just part of the background menagerie, and maybe decades later they came out and they revealed that they knew. They've always known it. And I think back to some of the little comments and questions that they were giving me, and it's like, yeah, they knew about this stuff all the way back. There was a guy that I used to work with, and he used to, he was a pretty nice guy, a lot of targets. And it's not that he was really in on it. He wasn't like stalking me or anything, but he would ask me key questions. And I knew that it was just a little out of the, why would somebody say something like that? Or why would they mention this or that, or ask me this question or that question? I was like, okay. And, decades later, the guy comes out and he basically lets me know. He even let me know that he knew about the channel. I never told him about the channel, and so, I mean, you can come to whatever conclusion you want about something like that. But the thing is people are surrounded and they don't even know it. Like I said before, targets, rather than them being disconnected with reality, they are thrown into reality. They're thrown into the truth. They are, blindsided when their conceptual framework is thrown into what's actually going on. And that can cause people to dissociate. It can cause people to derealize and all those things that go into the psychosis. We talked about that in one of the live streams, which, I could have called it Gangstalking psychosis, because, they want to shock you. They want to use trauma, and they want to use all the survival instincts and the psychological framework that has been put into you as a creature and use that to manipulate you and disassociate you. This will probably be a little shorter of a live stream, but, it might even be only a half an hour. I've been criticized for doing 45-minute live streams. I see guys out there, they got videos for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and they got like, a million of them. Give me a break. But we're going to get into this. And the perps, they use these techniques, right? And I've talked about, the innuendos. There's a lot of plausible deniability around that stuff. They will do that with directed conversations. They'll do it with street theater. They'll do it in a lot of different ways. They'll do it while they're talking to the target. And the target will think that they're in a legitimate conversation. And a lot of times they will use that personal information. I've talked about that before, that they will get the target's attention by using personal information or themes that they have been sensitized to. and they'll kind of sneak up on the target. Because remember, for max emotional manipulation, they want to throw the game dynamic in this and get your ego involved because, of course, you got to win, right? That's a lot of targets get thrown into this is like a little game. They're winking at each other and they're playing all these little games, and they all have these little secrets and they're whispering and everything. And you're the focal point of humiliation, degradation, and all these little pranks. And, a lot of targets will talk about the fact that this stuff just starts all at once. It might change around them. Their environment might change to the point where they start noticing something, but then all of a sudden they're the odd person out. And I've talked about that before, that, you can be gaslighted in that way, thinking somehow that you just aren't worthy to be in the in crowd. And the creepy part is some of these people have always known this. And it's weird when you think about some of the things that targets deal with. And I've talked about infiltrators and perps and stuff like that, to where, it's like they're just, because there's rules, their handlers control them. And I've heard them say this kind of stuff before. You can think it's crazy. You can think whatever you want. It's not time for that. I've had other people confront individuals in my past that were talking to me aggressively and doing, not even really a direct conversation, just coming out and telling me that they were going to drive me crazy and all these things were going to happen. And someone else would come in that I didn't know, or someone would interrupt them and say, it's not time yet, or, you don't have, the right to be doing this yet, or this is not for now, and you're like, what the hell is even going on? Because at that time you're looking at this person like they're nuts. Because it's like all targets say that too. It's like, before I really knew what was going on, I thought these people were just like having a really bad day or something. I thought maybe they didn't get, sleep and they were just crabby and blowing up on me, or something was going on. I didn't know, because it's not obvious yet. And then you think back and you can see that they were always there. They were always around you. These individuals, the hive, the demonic hive, people that know about it, all these other individuals who become involved in this stuff, whether they're part of the, the fraternities, the occult, or, some other type of infrastructure. In fact, I put that link in the description one more time, and I'm going to keep doing it, because you get the naysayers in here and they talk about, oh yeah, MK Ultra, but what does that have to do with you? Or I don't know about this. The Missouri Lutheran Synod, Gangstalking, documented case, link. It's a good read. Check it out. And a lot of targets will talk about gangstalking at church. They will talk about, gangstalking in a lot of different areas, but that's one of the most offensive places that an individual can receive that kind of treatment, because these people are supposed to be working, for El Elyon, for the Most High. They're supposed to be connected to the Lord. And that's the assumption. But really what's going on is that some of the people there are probably genuine Christians. And they might be the people in wheelchairs. They might not even be the people in power. Probably not. And the Lutheran Missouri Synod is a good case of where individuals have created this, supposedly just created this little system to balance the power and control things, and obfuscate their activity using gangstalking and harassing people, driving them crazy, and just, frightening people and so on and so forth. To me, I think they just got caught. I think that stuff is everywhere. I think everywhere you go, there's a percentage of individuals, getting back to my point, that are involved in this thing. And unfortunately, that's hard for a lot of people to stomach, but it's true. And, the targets that deal with exponential harassment and the torture, food tampering, they go to a restaurant, they get harassed. They're trying to, go on their commute to work or something, and people are doing directed conversations and innuendos around them. They're strangers loudly speaking around them, acting strange, using personal information and themes they've been sensitized to. There's other people who, are attacking them, in traffic. There's people breaking into their house. These things they're designed to gaslight you. They're designed to drive you crazy and, get you to the place where your conceptual framework is completely flipped upside down. And innuendos are a huge part of the gaslighting. And I've mentioned this before that, when you're dealing with people like this, the danger is that you start playing their game because that's what they want, right? They want you to think this whole thing is some little game that you got to play and you got to win. I've talked about that before. That you have all these little suggestions. Well, you just got to do this. You just have to do that. You have to go find the X's out in the desert. You just have to quit swearing. You have to quit saying this word and this other thing, or you got to do this, or you got to do that. Or there's other targets who have problems with substance abuse, and then of course what happens is they get harassed and targeted, and they might quit and be successful for a while, but then what happens is that really they didn't even care about that because they just want to gaslight you and drive you back into it with environmental tyranny, deprivation, and torture, so that the only thing that will give you a little bit of peace is the thing that they draw the little line in the sand. Well, don't do it. Don't do that. Don't think of pink elephants. Whatever you do, don't do that. And of course, the individual shouldn't be doing that thing, but of course, they don't care about that. And they know the probability. They know that that's part of the theme and the framework of their regulation. And so they'll push them towards their addiction. And then they'll gaslight them and torture them when they do it. But really, that's what they wanted. It's a little game. It's like vampires. And we've talked about that before. You have a lot of different types of perps involved in this. And by the way, if you're out there and you have something you'd like to share, or you have a testimony on either gaslighting or innuendos or whatever, as long as it involves gangstalking, I'll let you come in. No swearing, no mentioning other targeted individuals, no mentioning other channels, no promoting of any other religion but Christianity. First initial or first name only. Come on in. And of course, we always have the option for gang stalker confessions. If you're one of those stalkers out there, and it's like I've mentioned this before, you get these people that they deal with individuals who don't really seem like they're all in. Right? They become involved, but they're very reluctant, or they become the helpers. But somehow they know. I've heard a lot of weird target testimonies where you have people that seem to be the good guys and people that are the bad guys or whatever. But to me, it seems like a lot of gaslighting because I don't know. But if you are, and you have a little bit of human left in you, and you want to get something off your chest, something that you think would help out targeted individuals, go ahead and hit the link. It's at the top. And remember, just follow the rules. That's all I'm asking. And I'm going to go into the comments and see who's out here. Gangstalking, directed conversations, innuendos, and gaslighting. And we'll see Tribal Warrior, welcome to the live stream. Gangstalking must end, welcome to the live stream. Okay. And Bryce, welcome to the live stream. Fort Thou 8, welcome to the live stream. Crystal something on fire. We're going to leave that part out. Welcome to the live stream. Okay. Well, it doesn't look like anyone has hit the link. There has to be someone out there who's dealt with the powerful technique surrounded by plausible deniability, innuendos. And I've mentioned this, that if you, getting back to what I was talking about, if you run into this whole thing, if you know there's somebody playing around with you, what are they? They want you to play that game. What are they trying to do? They are trying to reprogram you. You can't think about what somebody might be saying and try to have a normal conversation. It's going to drive you nuts. It's going to suck the life out of you, man. Right? And that's a lot of the stuff that you deal with in gangstalking is just basically wearing you out. All these things to just make your life so complex, complicate everything to the point where you just don't have any energy to take care of the things you need to take care of. And then it just plays into their strategy. It plays into the game. They want you to look crazy. They want you to look wore out. They want you to look drugged out. They want you to look like a freak. They want you to be accusing people of things around their techniques involving that plausible deniability, and innuendos are at the top of the list. And I've mentioned before, you never want to try and call these. Don't ever try to stand up for yourself and call these people out. You're wasting your time. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your energy. You're playing into their strategy. A lot of this stuff, and I've mentioned this before, is like quicksand. As soon as you bite, as soon as you start to move, as soon as you start to play, the predictive programming that they have within the scientific methodology of gangstalking is if you react to it, you're playing into their game. You can't win that way. And innuendos are the same way. And they're powerful, especially if you're a new target. I've talked about that before. A lot of the reason that I make these videos is for the new targets because it's brutal. A lot of you guys are veterans. You got a lot of this stuff figured out. But some of the people out there, they have no idea what's going on. It looks primitive. It looks like a game. It looks like something that they can win in a year, maybe 6 months. In a couple of years, they have no idea what they're in for. They have no idea the infrastructure that is set up around them. Information gathered through intel, surveillance, and sometimes even the spiritual dimension through dimensional perspectives. And it's beyond anything you can imagine. I think we do have someone in here. Oh, right. Cool, man. Mike, right on. Come on in, boss.
Now good.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, it could be worse. Could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely downplaying it. It's rough. So topic is innuendos and gaslighting tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I mean, it's so bad. Pretty much nobody's left at this point. You know, a couple people, no families left. You know, I'm talking to you guys, and it's a lonely road, man.
Yeah,
very lonely.
Yeah, the isolation for targets is exponential, and for me, after experiencing all the fake stuff out there and everything, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of nice just to get away from it, isn't it?
Yeah. Like the fake, the plants, the fake girlfriends or.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing how they get the family involved, but I look at it and like they're all narcissists anyway, so maybe they didn't really have to get them involved, or they didn't really have to tell them to like, hey, there's this game or the program or whatever the targeted individual program, the Gangstalking program. You should join in, or they threaten, or however they get people to join in. They use their badges and their doctorate degrees. And it's like they mesmerize people. But with narcissists, I feel like they don't even have to, and they'll lie to them and gaslight them and run innuendos, the hidden messages on license plates. I see that a lot. I see that daily.
Yeah, that's a creepy one. I remember one time I was in a pretty bad spot going through withdrawals, and I was literally on my way with my family to this hospital, which of course they could have taken me to a local hospital. So I think what they wanted me to literally die of alcohol withdrawals on a like a 300-mile road trip is what was going on. It was creepy because they kept stopping the vehicle and turning around, and I was like, what are we doing this for? But they were waiting for me to die. It was creepy. But these people were pulling in front of our vehicle, and they had all these weird license plate things on there, like Mr. Grimm, and you're gonna die, and all these weird things. It was beyond anything I could imagine. So I've seen that kind of thing before.
And it's like right on point with what you're going through, like in real time type of stuff. It's weird.
It was. I mean, it sounds crazy, but I've seen it.
it makes me think they're lining it up. Like, it's spiritual. I remember one time I said something crazy, like I got to do, I was with this chick. I was like, I got to do some math on my calculator on my phone real quick. This guy pulls over, right in front of us, says, do math on the back of the license plate, like in real time. I'm like, how did they do that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you say anything and you look nuts. And I've talked about that there's a lot of ways that stuff can work. And you mentioned the time dilation and all that other stuff, which is basically a dimensional perspective. And, even when you get into some of the things that targets deal with when it comes to them thinking that people are reading their mind, some of that could come from a dimensional perspective involving that outside of space time, and that just make them think that they know what's good, because it's kind of like watching something in advance,
Yeah, like they have that, their sixth sense is tuned in more towards demonic power that's giving them this esoteric information, this kind of forbidden knowledge.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
That's how they're using their third eye they're using their sword for evil. And I think targeted individuals are trying to keep their third eye open through God,
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. That's how it works. And because I've run into that whole thing before, where it'll just blow your mind, because even the people involved, not the fake stuff, like, the cheesy psychic hotlines, but the real stuff, like what you're talking about, they do know things that are going to happen, and they orchestrate those things through divine manipulation. And even in Deuteronomy, it talks about God will allow that to happen to test people. And so he'll allow them to do it. But it's there, it's real. And so how else are you going to explain it? And that goes into the innuendos too, because it seems like, it basically works the same way on that.
On the encrypted messages, or like the coughing or the scratching of the throat, or the certain hand signals that they'll throw out to let the other perps know that are encrypted, that to stop or start something that the target's nearby or whatever. It's like they're always. I mean, I don't always see them doing that, but I've noticed a lot of coughing. I've also noticed traffic on the road, but the gaslighting thing, this stuff is psychological, but all that psychological abuse, I feel like, can accumulate and physically deteriorate you over time. Like I said, I lost hair from it. I've been sick now for over a month. I recorded the FBI a couple weeks ago for the second time, and I've been sick for 3 weeks. And I made a video. I don't know if it's tied, like maybe they put something in the vents and got me sick. I don't know. I know it sounds crazy. Other people, normal people hear me say, they're like, man, you got to let this stuff go and all that. But I know what we know, right? We dealt with it firsthand. I mean, you only know if you know. Well, I was on the cusp for a few years there. Like, I didn't know what to Google. I'm like, man, what is this stuff? It seems like I'm just having bad luck after bad luck about my early, 20s. But I noticed about 16 years ago, that's when it got really out of hand. And looking back, they may have been running sort of experiments all the way through pharmaceutical drugs. Like you said, they do a lot of research on that, and they know it's not going to cure anything. They know it. But yeah, and they still gaslight me till this day. Every family member will almost know when I go into a store, and then they'll get really aggressive with me and be like, yeah, you know what? And then they'll force me to raise my voice on the phone so that people around me are looking at me now. I'm the person of interest in the store, and they're like, hey, you see that? Stay away from that guy.
Yeah, basic narcissist technique, gaslighting, and then they trigger you, and then you look like a nut. Basically, I'd like to thank EE out there for the super chat. Says, great show, Doc. You are helping many. I wish I had this information you're giving now 20 years ago. Thank you very much, EE, for that super chat. And Mike, you're right. The thing about what you're talking about with your family and the narcissism and stuff, it's like, well, yeah, why do they flip? It's almost like the only thing that has to happen is somebody's got to put a price on your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it feels dangerous at this point. like for me, and I know there's some targeted TIs out there that get killed and all that, and I'm praying for all of us, man. I'm praying for myself, you guys included, that we don't physically get hurt. We don't die that way. Like we don't get poisoned or drugged or whatever. And the druggings is one thing, but poisoning, that's another thing. Like I've seen that stuff on Forensic Files, and that stuff made me think they were doing that to me.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're going to hunt me down and just core me, run me out of gas or whatever, you know?
Yeah, you don't know. That's the thing, is that when you really see what's going on, the logical implications will answer that question for you. For you to say, these people are not trying to hurt me is ridiculous. Of course they are. Of course they are.
Oh, yeah.
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 And
Yeah,
what are they? Yeah, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Are they above? Well, they're not above doing that, because I could freak out and kill people or kill myself. And so what are they going to do? Right? Of course they will. Yeah.
Yeah, if they got the perfect opportunity, I believe with any targeted individual, I believe they're going to take their shot. Yeah.
Yeah, they would love what they want. What they want is they want to torture you to the point where you do something, and then they can get you to internalize it and gaslight you with it. But if that doesn't work, well, don't think that they're not above stepping it up, right? So you just don't know. And I know you've experienced that. So
yeah, and like you said, sometimes you got to get physical with them. You try all else fails. Try to escape first. Try to, if you can, just get out of there. I mean, record it and get out of there at the same time. Be like, I've proven everyone I'm not crazy. I had one guy chase me down in traffic with a bat one time, and I got away from him.
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've had these guys threaten me, hack my phone and then threaten me, and then old friends started acting really weird, and that's when and I wasn't telling them, but I was drawn towards God, and they were selling pot, doing different stuff, and they're like, yeah, we need someone to be the fall guy here. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, we need somebody to, and this is what I was drawn towards God, and I knew this stuff was spiritual. And they're looking at me like, yeah, we need someone to take the blame, or not, like, it never happened that way. Like they say they're going to try to set me up in that way, but they kind of made it seem like, if we keep the cops on you, or we make it seem like you're the guy or whatever, or the person will do jail time or whatever. I don't know. Well, it was just weird, directed conversation. Like,
no, yeah, well, they'll do that to targets. Because the thing is sometimes you become involved in a group of people you don't even know what they're into, or they want the cops to believe that you're connected with them and you're not, because they will use you as a fall guy. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're drawn towards God, and they're spiritually, selling their souls and trying to live the fast life, if you will, and be liked by many, and have all the girlfriends and all the toys and all that, all the cars and all that. But
yeah, no, I had that happen a long time ago, and what the deal was is they had told all these people got together and basically made me out to be this drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
And I was just a kid, but the cops, they became involved, and I found out later there was a surveillance against me for like 2 years, and I didn't even know what was going on. They just, luckily I wasn't involved in anything, or otherwise I would have gotten in trouble. But they had everybody looking at me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, I've had to live like a fugitive since 2010. But then, like you said, a lot of us have said, when you rewind the tape, they've been doing, the gaslighting really begins more later. I feel like later in your life, because they know that what's going on. But I've had it verbally happen, and then I've had stuff like where you'll go back and it'll be missing, and you're like, I wonder if that's placement gaslighting, because it seems like something's there, but I'm not sure if I left it. And then it got me in the loop where I got a concussion at one point, and I was losing stuff. And I think this was part of the targeting. This guy gave me a concussion. I was a little older than me. We played hockey together. And I think, that's when I know. That's when the cops started circling in, and I was leaving class early. I was smoking pot. I was kind of going on study hall and leaving and coming back, but that didn't give them a reason to come at me the way they were putting all this focus on me, and the teachers too, and that they're trying to create this false image of me, and to get me to internalize it very young and put me on Adderall. And my mom actually got mad. She's in big pharma. Now she's not involved with it anymore. I don't know how involved she is now, but she was involved with it. She actually got mad at me. Now she's another narcissist. She got mad at me when I started detoxing from all this crap, and I started getting sober. And I'm like, I feel better now. Now that I'm more organic with my diet, I'm not on Adderall. I'm not on the antidepressants they were trying to combine with the Adderall, which was just disastrous. It was not a good
that's
idea.
got to be a horrible combination because you got downers and uppers.
Yeah, and they didn't know. I mean, I really didn't. Yeah, it just makes you think, like, what is this whole thing like? When they gaslight, is it just to get a reaction? Is it just to anchor us, to make us
No,
question
it's
ourselves?
more than that because that's part of it. But the thing is it's environmental tyranny that moves you into emotional currency and propositional tyranny, because the amount of subjection that you deal with is the key. Everybody does their job. You got the death of 1,000 cuts, and they subject you to that surreal environment to where you don't know what's real. That's what they want. They want you to question everything, because you don't know what reality is anymore.
Yeah, they're driving you crazy while they're calling me crazy.
Yeah, so they're basically manufacturing the accusation all in one. So they're saying you're going to be crazy, but they're making sure that it happens. Yeah.
Yeah, they're driving it. They're driving it. Yeah, they're driving it in my head, and a lot of TI's heads. Oh, what are you going to do now? Or, oh, that didn't work out. It's like it's a playful little demonic game that they have where you get close to the finish line. You're like, I'm almost there. I'm going to complete it. And it they destroy it, or they prevent it, or something happens, something coincidentally happens that smashes, like you said, the sandcastle, the project, the deadline.
Then they'll gaslight you later when you don't want to try anymore, and they'll say, "Oh, come on."
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on. God's gonna help. You can do anything, and and then they'll try to bring God into the whole thing, and you're like, "Oh gosh, you guys are so screwed." But they'll do that. But then that the whole thing is manufactured, because, like you said, why are they doing it? Well, they surround you with that environmental tyranny, and then they'll get you to the place where, like you said, you're apprehensive because you know that you have something to do, but at the same time, in the back of your mind, okay, I'm going to do this. I've got a goal or whatever I'm trying to do, and they're going to try and screw it up, and they've screwed it up before, and so now the apprehension that you have is an accusation against you that you just don't believe. What the hell is that sound back there, Mike?
Oh, that's one of their. It's a cat. It's bizarre. I don't know if it's crying out to.
Is that your cat?
No, it's a roommate's cat. It's a F5 Savannah.
Is it locked in a room or something?
No, it's walking around. He's trying to breed them. He's trying to breed these. The Savannahs are serval mixed with domestic, and they create the Savannahs, F1 through F7s.
I've never seen a cat make that much noise before, unless it's in distress. Unless it wants food or something. Is it time to eat for that cat or something? Or
I don't know. It goes around and they spray.
That's just beyond anything, dude.
Like you're saying, the possessed cat, right?
Yeah, I'm not. It's like we got another perp here. Yeah, we've got a cat perp in the background.
Yeah, an evil cat. But yeah. And it's funny about this guy. He's got a big pair. He's got a big pair on him when he walks. I call him Big Balls because he's got a big big pair
So
on him, and he
so
yells like that's
they're
funny.
ready to breed. Okay, I get it. Okay,
Yeah, yeah, he's trying to breed
yeah,
him and all that.
we don't have to go into that. But I just okay. Well, we've got that. We've got that figured out. Okay. So, but that was
Yeah,
that was a little disturbing. I couldn't pretend that it wasn't
yeah,
there anymore. I
yeah,
was like, I had to give it, even if it was just a reaction, I had to give it because if nothing else, it stopped. So, but
yeah.
let's see what else is going on out here in the comments here. Does anybody have a question for Mike? It's not involving the cat. If anybody's got one for him. Okay. Okay. Well, we have one from Yellow Pollen here. Yellow Pollen says they have technology. We have technology years ahead. Also, other beings are real and they are in contact with them. Peace and protection be with you and your friends and family. Well, I would agree with that. And I think we were talking about that earlier with the esoteric knowledge, the forbidden knowledge, and hidden wisdom, and some of the things that people know is creepy. You know, I've had people say things to me before that, you know, it's like I had a girl that I dated. She was involved in witchcraft, and I didn't even know it. And I had wrecked a vehicle. And she said, well, I said, well, it looks like that's my last vehicle for a while. It's not your last vehicle. She told me exactly what kind of vehicle I was going to get. But I didn't get it for 5 years later. And it was a gift to me from somebody who was not connected to her. The exact color and model.
Creepy.
Yeah.
That's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
they're able to do that.
Yeah, well, but it's not. They're just like you said, man. They're just in communion with these beings, just like the individual said in the comment, and they have that information. It's just like if you were up in a tree and you could see things further away, and somebody was on the ground, you could say there's, elephants coming or whatever. Well, they, you could mess with them, but really you just have information they don't have. You just have a different perspective, right? Don't make it out to be something that it's not. Because they want to dazzle people with it. That's what it's designed for. And they deceive the elites with that stuff, and they believe it. And they have generations and lineages based on that type of destiny philosophy. And that's even when you get into some of the stuff that Gary Wayne goes into, if you want to look into the secret societies, they have that destiny mythos. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like they're using it as an advantageous kind of point, an advantageous sort of stance to and maybe they're viewing it as they're getting hidden information, the occult knowledge, the esoteric knowledge, and they're getting that advantage to give them that different perspective, to give them that hidden knowledge that makes them feel like we've got powers. We can channel messages that normal Christians or people they can't get access to, which means, that's crazy, but I wouldn't.
Well, that's how they create a hierarchy. It's like, gold went up to $5,000 an ounce, right? Or it's just, silver went up. Now it's over $100 an ounce. They probably had that information, right? Or other things that are going on. And so now they have all the money and everything, and all the other little underlings are running around being gaslighted like target individuals, thinking they're just a bunch of sub creatures or whatever. It's like, like some of the stuff that happened. Well, I guess I can't talk about that, but a lot of people speculate that there should have been an investigation around the 9/11 incident, because there were people that they traded their stocks very suspiciously around that whole thing. Okay, we'll just put it that way. That unless you knew about it, you wouldn't have done it. In other words, there were people that didn't show up to work. There were people that suspiciously, got out of certain things, and there's really no explanation for it exponentially. But it's the same thing. They knew. It's like the thing over at the Mandalay Bay shooting. That lady that went into the crowd. You heard about that one, Mike?
Maybe a little bit. You want to go into it?
Yeah, she walks into the crowd, and supposedly, this is hypotheticals for entertainment purposes only and education, walked into the crowd before the shooting over there and told everybody they were all going to die. And she was drunk and just walked away laughing. I'm not making that up. Not to mention that the stuff that was in like a message board warning people to stay away from public places in Las Vegas because there was going to be supposedly, like I said, entertainment purposes and educational purpose only, a type of false flag that was going to go down. And literally, this is this was right before the whole thing went down. Same thing,
Yeah.
same thing. Yeah.
Yes, that dimensional perspective of the spirits giving them,
Or
that
inside
hidden
information,
knowledge.
whatever. It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
There's people that know. It is the same thing that target individuals deal with. And so when they're dealing with innuendos and the gaslighting, of course, that's the shock and awe that goes along with it. How did you know? How did you know to do that? Or how did you know I was dealing with that? Or, whatever. And then you have the plausible deniability of that direct conversation. So, or the innuendo. If you say anything, you just look nuts and they can say, oh, no, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then, if somebody's having a direct conversation with personal information that has to do with the target, same thing, right?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Of course. And that's why I warn targets. Once you cross that line, now they can blame you for the whole thing,
Yeah. Once they come out and you try to explain yourself to people, then they're like, then they really start gaslighting or denying every freaking thing, that every claim that I have is just thrown out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
And
the way it works.
And my buddy, and I was thinking about filing a lawsuit, and I'm like state civil 1983, and I'm just thinking, like, I mean, there's a chance, I won't win, but I'm almost thinking if they wouldn't build a case on me just to try to, I don't know if they can do that in a civil stance. If I open the case, if they could throw a targeted individual away in the psych, back in the psych shrink unit, oh, you don't have a case here, but in fact, we've been keeping our eye on you, and maybe we saw your, YouTube channel or whatever, and we want to put you away. I had them threaten me. Community North Health Network. They threatened the last time I was there 4 years ago. They threatened to put me in again. There's like, we see you here again. You'd be here for 100 days plus.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Are you talking about a psych center?
Oh yeah, they threatened me with 100-day sentence.
Wait a minute. How can they threaten you with 100 days in a psych center, dude? What? Yeah,
because I said something to him. I got frustrated with him over Community Health Network, and I was like, and then he's like, well, if I see you here again, since you've been here a couple times, we'll make sure to keep you here 100-day stay.
My God.
I'm like, yeah, that's absolute. I was like really traumatized. I'm like, they can't even do that. And I was thinking, I'm like, what they're doing right now, they can't do. Because they told me, usually the first time or two you go on there, it's this classic 72 hours. They had me there for like 2 or 3 weeks, like holding me there. And I was getting nervous. I was getting pretty nervous. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. This is just a few years ago, right when COVID popped up too.
Oh my gosh. That's okay. They can't do that, dude. The only time they can keep you in a place like that is for observation, and they can't threaten you with 100-day sentence. That's crazy, man.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it. Because targets, it's like, we have rights. Do we? Really? That's a good example of what can happen, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen, dude. You're right. I wouldn't doubt it for a minute at all. Absolutely.
Yeah, it scared me. So I've been really good about what I report to the police. And I have made some reports on some theft, and I got gaslighted by an attorney's office today, doctor. I talked to her. I said, I'd like to get a pro bono 1983 rolling and get it in the works. I've been through too much. And she said, oh, well, we only go back 2 years. 1983 is a long time. I said, no. This is a 1983 civil lawsuit. She's like, yeah, but we only go back 2 years. Like, to make it, gaslight me to make it seem like it has to be in 1983.
So they were using the statute of limitations on that. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, she was being corny about it. The actual 1983. Yeah, the statute is 2 to 3 years, but in my opinion, they keep stacking the door. They keep knocking the door open again and reopening that statute with new. I haven't been in the hospital for 2 years, but it's been theft or it's been gaslighting's all the time, because that's not a crime to gaslight someone. I mean, every time I talk to my dad, it's gaslighting. It's
Yeah,
crazy. He knows. He's like, just go get a job. Just go get a job. Crickets from every employer around here. He knows that I can't get a job. So then I get self-employed. He's like, I get gaslighted there. Oh, you're not going hard enough in the paint. And I'm like, dude, actually, I'm not doing too bad. Actually, my first year doing this little gig, but it's just, they try to stack as much as they can on you and then blame shift me or whoever.
yeah,
Whoever
that's gaslighting.
they're going
Absolutely.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, blame shifting. Yeah. So, and they go on my shortcomings or whatever. I'm like, I can't believe some of these narcissists are combining Christianity with their mindset. With
They're trying to masquerade. They're
their
trying to use that as a way to gaslight you too. Is that what you're saying?
they're using it like, well, they're Christians and this and that. I mean, I had one Christian guy claims to be a Christian, invite me over to a Thanksgiving party with him and, a couple people. He knows I'm at the door. I felt like a weird feeling about going over there. I go over there. He doesn't, he's, with his wife and he's kissing her, whatever, in front of the door. I ring the door, sitting there. They end up not even coming to the door. And so then I'm just sitting there feeling awkward. And I knew I shouldn't have shown up to begin with. I knew it was just maybe a friendly friendly invite. And then I'm just sitting there at the door, awkward. And they know I've rang the doorbell more than one time. And I'm looking at them through the window like, this is weird. Why did you guys invite me in the first place?
Yeah. My gosh, man. Well, I've talked about that before. That you run into those people that are masquerading as whatever Christians or friends or concerned people or whatever, and it's just that's really the thing that because it's like they want you to give up because it's once you see how exponential this is, it's like everywhere. It's at church, it's at your workplace, it's in your family. It's like they're daring you to say anything. Because at that point, you're surrounded by these people. It's horrifying. Getting into what you were talking about. Here's a funny one. One time I called up a suicide hotline because I was having a horrible anxiety attack and I just needed somebody to talk to. I wasn't even threatening that I was going to kill myself or anything, right? And the people that are working there, they were like making fun of me, man. They were joking around and stuff. Well, they were just laughing and making jokes and stuff. And then they threatened to call the police. And I was like, what would you do that for? And they're like, well, I don't know. You said that you were feeling anxious and everything. You sure you don't need an ambulance? I'm like, no, I just need somebody to talk to right now. But they started threatening me with calling the police and everything and joking around. Because, I was having a panic attack. I was having a hard time breathing. And they were joking around. Well, tell them to go open the window. I could hear them laughing in the background. This is a suicide hotline, man.
Yeah. That's serious.
And it's like, that's like, really? You got to be kidding me. They're getting paid to be there, too. And they even called me back like 2 days later and started joking around with me when I was at work.
Wow.
Because they have my number. Yeah.
Yeah. It just goes to show you how far, that these guys will go.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah,
I have it happen.
Are you there? Hello? It looks like we've lost volume, and it's not from my end. It looks like Mike must have touched his phone the wrong way. That sounded like it was getting interesting, unfortunately.
Here, let me try to adjust it or something.
Okay, you're back.
That was weird. Audio.
No, you're fine. We can hear you. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
But yeah, that sucks. I've had it happen. You just have it happen from unsuspecting characters, and it leaves us feeling. I feel heartbroken at this point, but I'm stronger definitely from all of it.
Well, yeah,
I hope you guys are too, man.
Like I said earlier, the thing is, you see the plastic out there. You can't let it get you down in the sense that you think this is everything, because it seems like everything is just, you're losing everything. You're losing all the opportunities, and everything is just passing you by. But really, there's nothing there. And I've talked about that with targets, is that you try to get your life back and everything, but you're playing their game at this point, because all that stuff was just paper mache,
Yep, absolutely. It's an illusion.
Go ahead.
It's an unfortunate illusion. I wanted to see what other ways you think that you would interpret the innuendo side, and maybe in conjunction with the gaslighting, and like how they're besides license plates. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I know what you mean, though. A lot of themes, like any something serious just happened, or whatever you think.
Well, yeah, but the innuendos usually, it depends, but they have inside information, and it's basically like a directed conversation, but it can be used where people are, it's like what you were talking about with the animals, like they're talking to the dog, where they're really talking to you. That's a good innuendo, right? Or when people are talking to each other around the target, and they're bringing up things that are pertinent to them with, the themes or even personal information. Or they could be having a conversation with you, and they'll use something hidden with keywords or whatever, and then they'll kind of wink, and when you finally figure out what they're talking about, kind of trying to embarrass you, because what they want to do is they want to reprogram your brain so that you start thinking of all these subtopics rather than paying attention to the thing on the surface, because now you won't even be able to communicate anymore, and you'll eventually start reading into things. And so what happens to the target is that they eventually just kind of lose it, because now they're trying to figure out what people are saying when they're not saying it, which is nuts.
Yeah.
And I've told people, is if you run into somebody like that, just get away from them, man. Don't try to play the game. And they'll try to use the ego thing. And because a lot of targets become bewitched, and they think, oh, I am a second-class citizen because look, all these other people know all this stuff and I'm left out. And somehow that makes this okay. And I've got to, play the game right so I can become one of them. But that's not the way it works. They won't even let you do that most of the time. And so yeah, go ahead.
Do you guys think that they know deep down how bad they are, or do you think they sleep it off and say, well, I'm still blessed, I'm still such a holy Christian? I mean, because they know they're not.
No, they're masquerading. They're wolves.
Yeah, they've got to know, man, that they are not. That's not dark humor. That's not just cracking a little joke. That is crossing a line where it's like, okay, now it's evil.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's one of the conceptual framework flips that I've talked about. That when you get into Acts 20:29, is Paul said that after I leave, wolves will creep in, not sparing the flock, introducing demonic doctrines and destructive heresies. And he specifically mentioned some things in there involving forbidding people to marry, and making people be celibate, and also forbidding them to eat meat, basically trying to put them under the law and gaslight them in that way. But that was just the beginning of it, though. But the infiltration is exponential. It's like what Peter talked about, false teachers coming to an end of swift destruction. That happened back then when, Peter could do that. They had authority. And now it isn't like that. And there are no more apostles. There's no one walking around, as far as I know, with the gift of healing or whatever. Right now is different. And so now we have to know the truth and just, walk, with the Lord. And, unfortunately for targeted individuals, they a lot of times they can't even go to church because there's so many of those people there that they get driven out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's so that's how they fool the community. That's how it like you said, the framework, the blueprint is already set up for dark humor to be. That's okay. It's okay to cheat here and there or whatever, and it's not okay. But everyone on the external might not even guess that guy really is just a cold-hearted narcissist or a psycho that is leading the church session or is in the church, family friend.
See, they're the scariest ones because you don't see them.
Yeah.
It's like the serial killer stuff that we dealt with when people finally figured out that the scariest guys out there were like Ted Bundy or Dennis Rader because they blended in. They were normal, right? And Dennis was a deacon in his church. And so those are the scary ones. The other people, it's like, walking around, drugged out in an alley or something, wearing the cat burglar hat or whatever. It's like that guy, you could see him coming. They're probably not going to get close to you. These other people, you won't even know it until it's too late, man. And then you or like me or other people, it's like you'll be invited to dinner like you were talking about or whatever. And then you're just, you're totally vulnerable to their tactics at that point. And if you say anything, it's over because you're already surrounded.
Or the road, the classic road trip. That's dangerous, very dangerous. I warn all targets about the road trip.
Yeah, because you can't get away at that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're stuck in a vehicle with them,
Yeah, and they can just ditch you off the side of the road. I mean, I've had them do it.
That you just can't get away, and they start acting weird. It's like when you go on the camping trip with the perps and everything. Oh, it's going to be fun, and you think they're all cool and everything, and you get 50 miles out in the middle of nowhere, and they start getting weird on you. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's horrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad, and they know it too. It's a bad feeling. You're like, I'm not driving the wheel. You are.
Yeah. Oh, we got the wood chipper this time. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not worried about anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Sleep tight. Yeah.
Yeah. It's creepy stuff. Yeah.
Well, it's about the end of the show here, Mike. And I appreciate you coming in. I'd love to have you in again. And I'm going to take you off the stage now. Thanks for coming in, Mike.
Yeah. It's good to talk to you guys. Bye.
Okay. And we did have a couple other people out there. Unfortunately, this is the end of tonight's broadcast. And we'd love to have you in another time. And maybe I'll do one tomorrow night, but I God willing, we'll do another. And we talked about innuendos and the gaslighting that targeted individuals deal with. We hit on a lot of those subjects. And it's environmental tyranny 101. And targets are surrounded by this surreal environment, which involves, these logistical impossible situations where people seem to know their personal business. And then, of course, like I illustrated earlier, they want to reprogram you. They want to use that stuff for shock and awe, for trauma invasions, mind control, trauma techniques to invade your psyche and reprogram how you think and how you function, and eventually make you dysfunctional, and then try to gaslight you into believing you're crazy. Right? Isn't that wonderful? And I've mentioned before, if there's someone around you that's doing these innuendos or whatever, and you know that that's what's going on, don't play the game. Because if you're trying to, decipher conversations, you're not going to have any energy to function. If you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to figure out what they're saying but not really saying it, that's going to work against you. And that's kind of the trick of gangstalking. They want you to be your own worst enemy, and they want that plausible deniability. And if you start reading into things, of course, they're going to use that to gaslight you. And innuendos, they are at the top of the list. I'd like to thank everyone for helping me and supporting the channel. Thanks, EE, for that super chat. You have no idea how much you're helping me. Things are very difficult right now. I'd like to put a shout out and thank all the people who have helped support me in the channel. If you have any ideas for videos or future live stream topic, put in the comments. And remember, get a hold of me on Harassment Support Group 911 for an interview. And we'll get that out there. God bless. Be good to yourselves. Be safe.